Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Enough to Keep Going podcast. This is episode number 126. And once again, we will going to delay our decade in review. We were going to do it last week, and we had to scrub it just because some people couldn't make it. And then this week we're going to try to do it again, and actually we're recording on Saturday. But once again, life finds a way, as a wise man once said. So now we're going to jump back into our regular scheduled programming and go into our deep dive. Since last week we did our show, excuse me. But before we get into our news, let's introduce our other co-host, and maybe we'll have another one coming in here soon. Hopefully, we have Mr. Swissguard. Swiss, it's been a while. How are you doing?
Doing quite well. It's going to be weird once we actually get back into a regular rhythm. It's like been in fits and starts so far, but
Yeah.
we found a way to get together and talk games. So
Yes, we'll always find a way. We always have our opinions, of course, but tonight we're going to talk about some news stories here. I'm going to start off with some delays that we've got going on here. So just this past weekend, there was a lot of stories actually even just this past week, but I pulled from the last couple of weeks. This one is just from this past week. I think it was like between like Tuesday and Thursday. All these news stories came out about some delays that we're getting. First up, the Avengers from Crystal Dynamics, makers of Tomb Raider, Lara Croft. So they are going to delay. I think they were supposed to be May, I believe. Oh, it doesn't say here. I thought it did. I believe it was supposed to be April or May originally. The release date was, but they're delaying to September 4th of 2020. And of course, they just give the generic, this is a difficult decision, but we're going to do this for the betterment of the game. We're going to, put some polish on it, do some more testing, that kind of deal. So, which is fine. I mean, I'm not really one to kind of, him and haw about delays. As long as it comes out eventually and it's a good game. This one I was actually one of the three. Yeah, I'd say this one I was probably most looking forward to. Up next, we have Final Fantasy VII Remake. This was supposed to be released on once again
March 3rd, I
March 3rd.
think.
Okay, and then now they've delayed it just to April 10th, so that one's not too bad. So
Yeah, this one's. I don't think so disturbing.
no, yeah, so it's a little over a month. So once again, they're trying to do some final polish on the game, give some more Q&A. And thirdly, and you might see a something similar on all three of these, but we have Cyberpunk 2077, which was, oh man, once again, I thought they had the
It
release
was
date.
in April.
Okay.
So
Oh, April. Yeah.
yeah, the Avengers was originally May 15th, and then Cyberpunk was originally sometime in April.
Okay. So, within a month or so of each other, but they're delaying this one to September 17th, um, much like the Avengers. So the Avengers has about a little over a week to get out there and get their claws in the gaming society before Cyberpunk, which is probably, this is out of the three. Well, probably Final Fantasy 2, but I think out of the three, this one is probably like the biggest that a lot of people are looking forward to. We're looking forward to. But once again, they're saying we don't put the game. They say the game is finished, is complete and playable, but they want to go back and polish it up. And this is a big open world game. I know they said it's not as big as The Witcher as far as like actual size of the cities or the country. I think this actually just takes place in a giant city. But this one was going to be a little bit more. Obviously, there's a lot more detail, and just a lot more going on since it's a city landscape and area that you're going to be going through and exploring. So like I said, everybody's just saying kind of the generic. We're trying to get some polish done and do some more Q&A and stuff like that. But once again, not a big deal. As long as we get these games out here. Although
Well,
really, Cyberpunk and Avengers will be kind of fighting for each other. But
yeah, that's what first popped out to me was that, oh, now they're both in September. I guess they were,
yeah,
about a month apart, but they were in the spring, and there's generally not as much, you know, you have a little bit more of an open calendar when you release, that March, April, May timeline. And we've seen a lot of games take advantage of that, some they're open a couple of weeks, but you releasing in September, especially like 2 months ahead of like 2.5 months ahead of a new console launches and everything. Um, yeah, I wonder how that's gonna go. I have a feeling that with Cyberpunk, it's gonna be less of a problem. I just I feel like there's a little bit more of a um, demand for Cyberpunk. The hype seems stronger with that. Uh, I think was it this past E3 that they really kind of showed off the Avengers, and I don't think I don't think it really excited people that much. But I don't know if they really showed that much. I haven't been following it. It's not really on my radar.
Yeah, it fell flat when it was shown at E3, and I think I don't remember if it was GDC or maybe it was just like some other conference or maybe just something that they showed, and it seemed to play off a little better. I think it was like the very first mission, I guess, or maybe like the tutorial mission they show off at E3. But I also from like podcasts I was listening to, they had showed some more behind the door stuff, which seemed to play up a little bit more, at least to the press, which obviously we haven't seen yet, or at that point we hadn't seen. So that was a little bit better for at least the press. It was like, oh, okay, this makes more sense. This looks a lot better than what we saw at E3. Just the trailer that they put out. And then another thing people were kind of talking about, especially with Cyberpunk, was hey, this is coming near the fall now, and we got the big consoles coming out. Maybe that's why they're delaying it. But at least for Cyberpunk, they straight out said, I think that the day after, maybe a couple days after the initial announcement that they're delaying the games, that they were like, no, we're not. This has nothing to do with the new consoles. We're not even thinking about that right now. So we'll see.
Yeah, in their statement, they literally say, "We want Cyberpunk 2077 to be our crowning achievement for this generation, and postponing the launch will give us the precious months we need to make the game perfect." We're going to see Cyberpunk 2077 on the next gen consoles, like, right? I mean,
Yeah,
once they release the definitive edition, whatever form that takes, with all the DLC or whatever. Um, can't imagine why it wouldn't, unless the game completely is trash and nobody wants it. But everything I've heard and seen seems to indicate, it should be a big seller for CD Projekt Red. So, um, and as much as these new consoles are coming out, like, I mean, how often do you buy? Do you like to buy consoles on day one, or do you generally kind of wait a year for
I
like
usually
that first price drop?
I usually do buy them like pretty much day one. But this one with the Xbox Series X, I'm actually might wait um, and just kind of see. And funny enough, with the Xbox 360, because that was my first Xbox, I never had the original one. I didn't buy that one until I think it was like the next year it came out, like literally in January of that. I think it was what 2005. In 2006 is when I actually bought one. So it was like a few months later, 2 3 months later. Um, yeah, I was actually just thinking about that this past couple weeks, and I was like, you know what, I might wait on this one because yeah, I mean, I want to play Halo Infinite, and I was gonna say from what I've seen, but really haven't seen anything other than that couple CG trailers. Well, I mean, it's probably gonna be good, but I mean, and I guess we really haven't heard of any other release games coming out that same day. So I think the games is probably what's gonna sway me enough, and right
Right.
now Halo's not. So
For me, I'm kind of waiting for the on the Sony side to see what games will be coming out. I don't Everything I've heard, like the Horizon Zero Dawn sequel, is not coming out for a year or two, like till 2021 or 2022. Um, and I kind of like to wait for that first price drop. The other thing that might not be as big an issue, I don't know how it's going to work out with this generation. It didn't seem to be as big of a deal with the PS4. Um, I mean, we had the PS4 and then the PS4 Pro, but like if you remember, like when the PS3 launched, you had that big fat PS3 with like the super loud fans, and I caught mine at the tail end of that after they had stripped out a lot of the extra features. So that's how I got the price drop. But um, that one ended up dying, and I got a slim PS3, which I enjoyed a lot more. But Yeah, I mean that's not a huge driver, but
Yeah,
um,
I'm a slight tangent into another story that actually we had this week that I didn't put on the regular show, but the rumors of the Switch Pro. Um, so if
uh,
that if that actually happens, and supposedly that's supposed to come out in the spring, which I highly doubt it, that they'd announce something that quick and then like release it right away, at least for hardware. I would probably jump on that, and then I would probably definitely wait for for the
well,
Xbox side.
you say that, but didn't they announce the Switch in like January and then it came out in March?
Um,
I want to say that there was not a lot of lead time. Like we didn't know what it actually
I
was. We
guess
knew they
that's
were working on something,
yeah. I think we
and
had
then
the
I
little.
feel like it was one of those directs that actually happened.
I think we had
I would
the.
say,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
I was gonna
I
say.
was just gonna.
I was just gonna say. I think we had that. It was like in December. They had like the quick trailer of the Switch, and just the young people playing it everywhere and anywhere. And then yeah, January was when they finally said, okay, here, this is it. And then like February, March is yeah, you're right. So I mean, I guess it could happen, but I don't know. It just seems kind of weird if it even happens. And I mean, is it going to be really a Switch Pro? Like, is it going to be like Xbox One, PS4 style graphics, or is it just going to be like a slight iteration of a graphic bump and maybe like memory? Because I mean, obviously that's a big thing with the Switch and even hard drive spaces. I mean, 32 gigs right now on the base model. I think even with the well, I guess they kind of had that better battery Switch that came out, and I think that was pretty much it. That was better on that one. I think the hard drive was still like 32 gigs, so I don't know.
Yeah. Well, they. I mean, with the 3DS, they will maybe experiment with form factors. I'm kind of curious how that will go down. I was gonna say that the Switch was one exception. Like, I was trying to get it pretty early on, and with the shortages, I kind of ended. It took a couple of months before I got mine, but uh, yeah, they're not afraid to do a short turnaround. But then again, now that I think about it more, uh, we haven't actually seen the PS5 yet. We've heard a few things about it, and if they wait till the summer to do it, that's still a few months ahead of time before. So, um, you know, we could see an announcement for the Switch Pro soon and still get it sometime this spring.
Yeah, I think there was like some I forgot what site I was looking at, but there was like a leaker supposedly, and I guess he got some things right with the light and even the original Switch that he had leaked beforehand. That it was that they were gonna supposedly like announce it for March, and then it was gonna come out like that month after or something, or maybe even that same month. But I was like, I don't know about that because it's like, and yeah, there's been Switch Pro rumors for a while now, so I don't know what's true anymore. Um, but speaking, once again, I'm going to tangent because, hey, I'm the host and I could do that. We'll tangent into PS4 with them not coming to E3 this year. So, do you think they'll just like do a direct? Like, oh, well, I shouldn't say direct, but whatever they were. I forgot what their little directs are called when they do the video things now.
uh, so days or play or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean they're gonna do something, right? They got to start building up the hype.
Well, I mean,
Uh,
we had the Xbox showing off well, at least the hardware and stuff during like well, actually, it wasn't even the
didn't
hardware.
they?
It was the actual name, I think, right? During the Game Awards.
No, they showed the box because I remember the form factor because I remember we were talking like, is it going to be vertical or can it go on the side? I think I
Oh
think
yeah,
that was one of the things. But last year they didn't go to E3, but they had like that little like hype machine thing, like booth area outside of it. So
yeah,
they were
kind of like
there but
EA.
not there.
Yeah,
Yeah. Uh, I think in their tweet or whatever they said they're going to have hundreds of places or something. So I imagine there's going to be some sort of an announcement as we get closer, and then they'll just be they'll have their marketing engine in full force. I guess I wonder about the timing. Do they want to wait? The question is, do they want to like beat Microsoft to the punch, or do they want to wait till after and do like a counter thing? They have hinted that there is as yet unannounced features that are important. So
yeah. I was about to mention that too. Yeah, so they have their because they've mentioned like a little bit on the controller and just what the system could do. Kind of general. Um, and I'm
It,
not even sure even the Xbox has even really said anything really all that much. I mean, they've showed it and they've said the name. I'm assuming that's going to be the name of it, or at least for that one box. But they haven't really said, hey, we're going to have, I guess they've kind of hinted at the controller too. They've showed the controller off, which really it's not really any much different than the current
think
Xbox
that
One controller.
right. They I mean, I'm getting less excited for new hardware because it's just there's not that much to like with hardware wise like there's only so much you can do with it to like make me think, oh wow, I totally need that. Like the Switch is like an entirely different animal. That
Yeah,
gets you excited. With the PlayStation and the Xbox, it's about their services and the games really. You tend to enjoy a lot of those Xbox um, game lineup, exclusive lineups, and I tend to historically have played a lot of the Sony ones, and that's pretty much what is driving my decision making. So, um, yeah, I this has been kind of a very meh like console hype cycle for me, but
yeah, I know that
let's see
kind of
what happens.
happens with me too. It's like, and then like once they finally start throwing details out, it's like, oh, okay, I'm starting to get excited a little bit, or not. But yeah, it is kind of just like that meh cycle right now, that in between. So, but let's jump into, I believe it was an article that you had picked up about the Epic Game Store. If you want to jump into
Yep,
that.
this is from gamesindustry.biz. Epic Game Store tops $680 million in player spending. Um, okay, so it launched in December 2018, and they announced that from that launch to today, when this article came out like earlier this week, uh, $680 million from 108 million PC customers. Which, when you really break that down, it's like $6 a customer. So that's not fantastic, I don't think. But it says my first thought was, okay, how much of that was Fortnite? And they do answer that in the article. $251 million. Um, oh, I'm sorry. 251 has been spent by players on third-party games. Okay. They don't actually give the Fortnite only total. So $251 million of that is third-party games. Uh, but the other thing you have to take into consideration is like, oh, well, does that mean that the Epic Store is really starting to come on? Well, we had some big games that were at the Epic Store that are still Epic Store exclusive for now. World War Z, I think Metro Exodus, The Division 2, Borderlands 3, and Control. Those are some big titles, and all of them were on the Epic Store. So that was the only place you can play them if you're a PC gamer. So of course they're going to have a decent amount of revenue for these AAA titles. That's the only place you can get them, unless you want to play on the console. Um, so my initial reaction was that's more than I expected, but then as I thought about it, I was like, no, that their their third party exclusivity is paying off. Now the question is, how much of a profit are they really making? I remember with Control, I think there was some sort of memo or something released, and it was like somebody deduced it was like about $9 million is what they paid Remedy to get Control to be exclusive. I gotta think that Metro Exodus, The Division 2, and Borderlands 3 were more than that, but you know, out of that 251 million, they must be making. Obviously, I guess it's probably paid off. I can't imagine that they spent $200 million on exclusive titles, so that's worked out. But you're not a as big of a PC gamer, but I'm getting frustrated with it because it feels like they came out with this launcher. They have all these promises about about the what they're going to do, and they want to compete with Steam, and it's been over a year and it's still very bare bones. um I was playing Control and I beat it right before Christmas. And I was looking and there's some side missions and I was trying to figure out how much time I should devote to them. So I googled it and they're like, "Oh, if you do such and such side mission 5 times, you get a trophy." I'm like, okay, whatever. Maybe I've already done it a couple times, I think. And then I realized Epic Game Store still doesn't have like an achievements, like anything for achievements yet. So that was only going to be for the Xbox and the PlayStation gamers. And do I really care about my Steam achievements? No. Um, but it was just like oh yeah, they still don't have this. Oh yeah, they still don't have a wish list. Oh yeah, it's just these things that are basic, and I'm just like, uh, what? I don't know. It frustrates me. Mech Warrior 5, did they delay it, or did it came out December 10th, right? Pretty sure it did. That was a that's an Epic Store exclusive, and I'm almost kind of tempted to just wait for it to come out on Steam because that's where my library is, and uh, most of pretty much all my PC gamer friends are on Steam rather than the Epic Store. Like I haven't hooked up with them on that, so it's just
Yeah, it came out on the 10th.
yeah.
That's true.
So I don't know. I mean, I guess it's positive. Like people aren't completely uh boycotting the store with some of these exclusive titles, and that's working out. But I feel like it's a little bit of an astroturf number. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't gone into it since like the first few months when it first came out. Um, yeah, it was. I mean, you couldn't even really. There was not even really like sections for like the different games and stuff. Now, granted, it didn't have like a whole ton of games at that point, but I'm assuming now there's a good number of games that kind of like the eShop, Nintendo's eShop, where it's just like a glutton of games that you just kind of go through. That even basic function, like yeah, you can search, I suppose, but it was pretty rough those first few months at least, and it sounds like it hasn't really gotten any much better. So it's like, come on. I was going on there to get some of the like the. I don't have like a super powerful desktop or laptop. It's pretty decent. The one I'm using now, actually, the one I use for the podcast and streaming. So I would play some like kind of more indie games that would get free on there. But even then, after a while, I was just like, between that and Xbox and just all the Switch games I was buying, I was like, I can't even keep up with everything. I even stopped getting the Xbox free games now. Every
Yeah.
once in a while, if there's something really good, I'll throw it in. I'll just click on it just so I have it, and I can always download it later. But it's just like it's too much now.
They mentioned that in the article. They say that one of the biggest selling points for customers has been its distribution of free games, and they've announced that they will continue this um, weekly free game through the 2020. So I mean, and I will say that I have also, like, every now and then if I see it and it interests me, like you, I'll just like click it so I have it. I don't download it.
Yeah,
Um, but I'm not waiting for it or eager to see what the next one is just because time and life. Like,
yeah, it's just too much.
yeah,
Especially now that I have the Ultimate Game Pass, it's like I just a bunch of games on there I'd like to play, and I just haven't. I haven't even touched my Xbox in like I think like once or twice in the last like couple months. So just been everything's a Switch now. So just because it's so
wow.
convenient, like I could just
No,
sit on the couch and play something while if my wife's watching something that I don't really necessarily want to watch, I'll throw it on there. So and I don't even have to
makes
like
total sense.
yeah I don't even have to like if it's just like Rocket League or something, I don't need like the audio and stuff. I'll just play it and that's it. So that's why I'm hoping for that Switch Pro, so I get something a little bit more powerful. And I guess that's kind of the other thing too. It's like, and I was listening to a podcast this past week. They were talking about the Switch and that rumor, um, and then they were saying how we got PS5 and Xbox Series X coming out, and obviously those are going to be pretty much more powerful than obviously the One and PS4. It's like how's Nintendo going to keep up with that? So, and some people said yeah it's going to be hardware. Other people were like well it's going to be the software, and more than likely like Zelda 2 is going to Breath of the Wild 2 is going to come out. So It's like, oh,
Maybe
okay,
we'll get like
maybe.
an expansion pack like we did with the N64, and
You
it'll just
just
like
slap on
plug in somehow, and like we'll have like a hump, but it'll be
if there is a Switch Pro, please put the power cord on top. I know the docking station and
oh
all that,
yeah.
but oh my god, I hate that so much. Like if I have to use my secondary power supply, it's like come on.
Well, what gets me is like when my kids have it and like it's running low on batteries, and they'll put the power cord in, and then they'll still rest it on them, and
Yeah.
like the cord is like super bent, and it's like my OCD is like kicks into overdrive. I've already had to replace one stinking AC adapter for the thing,
Uh,
but
good old power plugs and USB-C. Um, yeah, I mean, obviously, I think the exclusives. I know it's kind of for good or bad with Epic. You know, that's they're kind of the thing now that they're trying to do. If,
it makes total sense from a business perspective. I'm not going to fault them for that. So
yeah, and coming from the, I used to be a PC guy, but kind of coming back from the console side, I mean, it kind of makes sense to me, obviously, because obviously we always have exclusives. Xbox, PS, Sony and Nintendo. They always had that, but PC obviously never saw that, and it's just kind of a new thing, I guess, for that media. So, I mean,
well, thinking of there's one story if you don't mind me like throwing another tangent in here.
go ahead.
um,
Got plenty of time.
yeah, there was we had like we had a lot of stories we were like trying to sift down this week, so we're kind of we're going off the agenda a little bit, but
Yeah, we're down to
um
man too. I forgot to mention that before. We were supposed to have a Gascles on here, but he's having some technical issues, of course, because that's what the E2KG network is known for. But so we can you can yeah, if you want to pick on anything else, go ahead, go right ahead.
the speaking of exclusives, right? Um, there's rumors that this was from Kotaku that Horizon Zero Dawn will be coming to PC at some point.
Yeah.
So this is one of the this is Guerrilla Games, so one of Sony first party, or I guess are they second party or first? I guess they're first
I think
party.
their first part, yeah, because they don't.
Yeah. Studio, uh, bringing one of their games onto uh off the PlayStation, which would be kind of a big deal. Like Death Stranding is coming out this summer on PC,
Oh
but
yeah,
Kojima Productions isn't like Sony owned. They're
yeah.
just the ones that gave them the cash to make the game. So so that'd be a big thing. Like we're seeing a lot, like going to circle back a little bit to our discussion about the new hardware, we're seeing a lot more like views of the games as being multi-platform. It doesn't really matter type, and so it really comes down to the service and the software. And there's another example, but um, yeah, all this stuff coming out on PC is actually dampening my enthusiasm for the hardware, for the consoles, because unless it's like a really depends on the genre, but um, I try to play it on PC if I can.
Was
I'm getting to that point now.
was Guerrilla Games? Did they make Killzone or was that
That was their
Resistance?
first game. That was their first PS2 game, I think.
Okay,
I don't know if they had a game before that, but yeah, they did Killzone, and
they didn't make Resistance, right? Fallen Man, that was a different company?
no, that was either Naughty Dog or Insomniac, I think.
Okay, I couldn't remember. I
Um,
was pretty sure those are two different developers that did those
yeah,
games. So I couldn't remember for
yeah,
sure.
they did Killzone,
Okay. There was
which
what
is why Horizon Zero Dawn was such a curveball.
There's what two or three kill zones? At
I
least two, I
stopped
know.
paying attention after the first one.
Okay, I know there's at least two for sure. Yeah, yeah, that's going to be a big deal if they if that's true, and obviously that's just a rumor for now. But
Yeah, it didn't
what
sound like it
was
was anything imminent. So
it from like a site that it leaked? I'm trying to look through the article again here. I forgot where that was coming from. Where that rumor was coming from.
three people familiar with Sony's plans, all speaking anonymously because they were not authorized to talk to the press. So Sony did not immediately respond to a request for comment. So in typical 21st century journalistic fashion, um, anonymous sources.
No, that's right. if they were speaking, they'd have their face blurred and their voices modified. Yeah, yeah, that'd be pretty actually pretty cool to see all these different. Obviously, Microsoft's been doing that for a while now, and I mean
Well,
obviously,
with the Switch Pro is like I'm hoping there's like a Switch Pro like Microsoft like joint kind of crazy like hey we're doing this a beefier hardware so now it can get Game Pass on the Switch and that kind
yeah.
of blow people's minds.
I think that was the big rumor too at one point that they're going to put Game Pass on the Switch at some point, but that never came to fruition. Speaking of which, another tangent for the Smash announcement we were talking about earlier. I was kind of hoping it would be like maybe at the least, the very least, maybe Steve from Minecraft, or at the high end Master Chief. But it was Byleth from Fire Emblem Three Houses. So, but I think we were talking about it before the show, but that's all right.
Right.
There's
They
but
had they had Snake, but Metal Gear Solid went multi-platform. And if you remember back in GameCube days, they did a re-release of like a remake of the
oh right,
original Metal Gear Solid. They called it Twin Snakes, and
yeah,
that was by Silicon Knights,
oh
who are now defunct. But
yeah,
Dennis Dyack is working on a new game now, and I think he's going to be really kind of talking about it soon. Dead House Sonata, and do you remember Legacy of Kain back in
yeah.
the day?
Those
They
are the
say it's
vampire,
supposed
right?
to be, yeah, Soul Reaver type thing.
Yeah.
They say it's supposed to be like a spiritual successor to that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember playing those back in the day. Those were actually pretty fun. So yeah, that'd be actually really cool. Um, let's see. We had the one article here from. Actually, it was actually a guest because they said pick this. So I'm gonna go through it. I just kind of went through the article just now because I thought he was gonna be here to talk about it. But the Bayonetta developer Platinum Games has taken a capital investment from Tencent, which is the big, were they Chinese, I believe, right? Company that has like kind of hands in everything. They have full control on League of Legends. About 40% stake of Fortnite, or I'm sorry, of Epic Games. Fortnite's Epic's game, yeah. Which I didn't realize they had that much of a percentage of Fortnite. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's what I thought when I saw that too.
Yeah, I was like, wow, 40%, really? And then they have a smaller stake in PUBG creator Bluehole, which is 11.5%. 5% of Activision Blizzard and 5% of Ubisoft. And then they actually helped Nintendo release the Switch out in China. So they've got their hands on a lot of stuff. They do a lot of. I think they came up with like in the mobile game section though. I believe originally, um, but now they have Platinum Games also that they're helping out, and the let's see who's the gentleman they were talking to here. I can't find his name now. I think it was the studio head maybe. He was just talking about how this is going to help them kind of reach a wider global audience and global perspective on things, and just kind of, and obviously not just help them out with obviously with the cash inflow. Obviously that's big because you can make more games and maybe or just pay attention to one game and do the best on that one. And their latest was Astral Chain, I believe, for the Switch. I don't think they've had anything after that one. Uh,
They've been working on Bayonetta 3,
yeah,
I think.
yeah,
But he did say, Kenichi Sato, he did say that he promised that this would have, quote, no effect on Platinum's independence or structure. So I hope that's true. Um, I don't, the Blizzard controversy notwithstanding, if it's a small percentage, um, like a 5 or 10%, you know, I don't know how much it'll affect them. The big thing for me is like, please don't change who you are
yeah,
because they've been having a lot of games that are really awesome lately, and I hope he doesn't. No effect on their independence or structure. To me that implies we're going to keep making the games we've always made them, And if that's the case, then okay, this is just a business deal, and you know we'll keep going. So
I think they had just announced. I don't know if they've come out yet, but it was a Vanquish and the original Bayonetta, I believe, were supposed to come out to PC. I think because I know they came
no,
out on like consoles originally.
I don't remember that. I know you can get them on Switch,
Oh, okay.
but
And then they have what's Nier Automata. Is that only on PlayStation or is that on Xbox
no, no,
also?
no, no, no. That's that they made it on PlayStation, which is where I played it. However, a year later they released it with the DLC on Xbox,
Okay.
and it's been on Steam for a long time.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was only. I knew at one point it was only on PlayStation. So
Astral Chain is a Switch exclusive, I
yeah,
believe.
yeah, that is only on Switch right now. So and that's I've heard a lot of good things about that one. So I definitely wanted one of the many games of last year that I haven't picked up yet. I
Which
gotta.
is also why we're not really worried about these delays because there's always something to play
Oh yeah, I can
that
always
we
go
missed.
back. I can
Yeah.
always go back to something. Yeah, but yeah, I hope they they keep doing their craziness. I know they're kind of I don't know which character should I say, Jekyll and Hyde, Two Face, because sometimes you have the good platinum and sometimes you have the so. They kind of do their or they used to. I haven't really seen too many of them, but like they throw out like what was the one Transformers? They had a game. I think they did a Ninja Turtles ones. More of
Mm.
the known properties that are out there. They kind of do a game on there. So, and I don't think any of those ones have landed too greatly. Like their homegrown games have. So, I was thinking of what was the other one? It was a Korra, I think. Um,
Oh, like the you mean like the Avatar?
yeah,
Oh,
whatever the second like cartoon that had come out
yeah, The
after
Legend of
Avatar.
Korra.
Yeah, I think they
We
had
only
done that.
we only watched the first season of that and then kind of
If
petered.
you fell off.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, let's go on another tangent here. I don't know if you saw the two TV game related articles I had put out there. The announcements for Nino Kuni and what was it, Dragon Quest, I believe, animes that are coming to. Actually, the Nino Kuni is out now on Netflix movie, and then there is Dragon Quest Your Story movie is coming out on February 13th. So I know you played the game, right? For Nino Kuni.
I played Nino Kuni, the first one, on the PS3, and I mean it had the charm of Studio Ghibli, and I'm kind of interested in this. I don't think it's Studio Ghibli that made the anime. I think it was like consulted with, and it was some team members from that company that ended up making it. But it's its own, I think, side story. It's its own story and world. Uh, so it's not like you revisit the characters from the game, from what I understand. And
Right.
even Ni no Kuni 2 is like set like hundreds of years in the future or the past. I'm not sure which, but it's a different set of characters. Uh, like I said, the game is was and story was charming enough that I might give the anime a look. But for those of you that are interested in playing, like the magic system is broken. Like you need to have so many, you need to buy so many stinking cappuccinos in the game. That's how you boost your MP in the in the game.
Okay.
But you're so reliant on your magic points to fight the toughest bosses. It's just like one dude's just like throwing cappuccinos at my main character, and that's how I beat it. It felt very unbalanced. So anyway,
So the setting's more of like a modern day setting in the game at least,
no, well, yes and no.
or is it kind of
So
like a mixture of like fantasy and
Nino Kuni is actually like Japanese for like two worlds of two worlds or something like that. Um, and so you're splitting time between this medievalish fantasy world and you ended up going back to your like hometown world, and they're connected in ways like kind of like spiritually behind the scenes.
okay.
And it was like 1950s town. um, but you jump back and forth 95% of the game was in the fantasy world, but you had to jump to your town to do a like an activity to move the quest forward, and then you
Okay.
jump back into the fantasy world.
Okay. It's kind of like Assassin's Creed, where you get like 5% of the future, and then you're mostly in the past with
I guess so.
various
I haven't
characters.
played it enough of the Assassin's Creed to know if they really have the which games had like the modern setting. I
Yeah.
know there were cutscenes in the modern setting.
Yeah. I know the first two did at least, like the very first one, obviously, and then the second one with Enzo, I believe his name is, where they had like three games, I
Okay.
think, for him. So, but yeah, I haven't played. I never played the game, but I think I might at least check out the anime or the movie, and then kind of excited for the Dragon Quest just because I've played at least none of the mainline games, but I've played like Dragon Quest Builders, so and I enjoyed that game, and I kind of like that. I don't know if it's the same going to be the same kind of art style, that kind of
Dragon Ball Z,
yeah, Dragon Ball Z.
Toriyama. I think Toriyama. I think is
Yeah,
his name.
yeah. So he did at least the games. So and kind of looking at the one picture, yeah, it kind of looks like it, but it looks a little different too. So, but I'll check them out. I haven't watched a lot of anime lately, so it'd be nice to jump back into something. So, any other stories here that you have seen that you want to talk about?
We had the one story about GameStop.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
holiday sales down 27.5%, which is bad. Pretty sure that's sad news. Um, if you're GameStop. Uh, for me, it's just like I understand it. Um, but one, we didn't have like any consoles really coming down the pike, but it's just everything's so like software geared now. Um, I never buy Switch games physical anymore. Everything is eShop. I don't want my kids to have to swap cartridges or anything like that. It's too convenient to do it, and it's just like that cuts out GameStop, like stores like GameStop. Um, my it's kind of sad for me because like Toys R Us is gone. Like there's no more Toys R Us, right?
Yep.
And for you youngins out there, Toys R Us was a chain that only sold toys. So it's like you can go into a toy store and browse, and it was kind of cool when your parents would take you there on like a Saturday. But for my kids, GameStop's almost become that. Like, because they have games that they can look at, but all like the gaming related knickknacks and T-shirts and stuff. My kids like to go in there and check out the clearance and maybe buy something for like $5. It's fun for like we need something to do on like an afternoon. Like I'll pile them all in the van and we'll go over there and raid a GameStop. So it's kind of sad because like I don't know like what they can do. Like I feel like they're a horse and buggy company kind of in a automobile world. Like it's
Yeah.
feeling like it's turning into that.
Yeah, I know. At the end of last year, they had the big thing where they were starting to kind of restructure and remodel their stores, or they're thinking of it. I don't know if they've done. I think they've done some of them and like doing like test markets and stuff, um, where I guess they're trying to get rid of more of all that clutter because it can be kind of depending on the GameStop because if it's like a standalone store, most of those ones aren't too bad. But if it's like in a mall, it's like pretty small, so everything's just kind of
Yeah.
crammed in there. Um, but they were thinking, cleaning that up a little bit more. Excuse me. They started doing the retro sales again, or
I've yet to see that really.
oh really?
Yeah.
I've seen a little bit of it. I don't go into GameStop a lot. I know there's one in the mall closest to me, and I'll stop in there usually. Usually my son wants to go in there too, just to look at stuff, kind of like your kids. They want to just look at the knickknacks and the toys and stuff. But and sometimes I'll see like a GameCube or something or an N64 cartridge, but I don't see like a huge section of that stuff. It's still mostly all the who did they buy? ThinkGeek, I think it was.
Yeah.
It's all that stuff kind of scattered about. So, um, but they were thinking of obviously doing more of the retro stuff and holding holding more like tournaments and stuff like that, or having just like
Well,
game stuff.
that's the thing that so like where I'm at, I got, not in my town, but in some of the surrounding localities, uh there's always a GameStop. So um, for pure gaming, we have that, and then one locality has a smaller chain. Like there's about I think 8 stores across like the Mid Atlantic, um, and they pretty much don't get very much new stuff in. It's they have a little bit, but it's mostly a used economy. So they got a lot of stuff going all the way back to the original NES, and on up. But the big thing that they do is they also sell board games, and they have a lot of tables, and there's always something going on for people to come in and do like Magic or Pokemon, whatever card games.
Yeah.
They'll do some Smash tournaments too and stuff. So it's more like uh, a club rather than a like they're not relying on selling old N64 and PS2 games to keep afloat. So
Yeah.
right now I have not seen anything like that in terms of GameStop yet. I don't even see like board games, and that's kind of odd because I feel like from what I understand, I'm not a huge board game person. I do play them from time to time, and I have some other you know everybody on E2KG is a dad. I have some other dads that are around here that will play um, board games with, and I think it's kind of like a renaissance for board game play, like tabletop right now. It's gotten more popular since Catan kind of took the world by storm again.
Yeah.
Um, so it feels like that's like maybe a niche market that GameStop could do better in, but I don't know.
Yeah. I don't. There's only like maybe one like kind of like mom and pop kind of place that I see around here, and I'm kind of in a uh, bigger metropolitan area. But it's mostly just Game Stops, and every once in a while I'll see like a store pop up. And even there was one actually not too far from me, and it was closed down right away. Pretty much like within a year or less. So it's hard. I mean, it's hard to go out there and compete with all the digital stuff nowadays. So you kind of have to do that extra, the board games and D&D and all this other kind of stuff. So I don't know if that's going to really save them at all. I mean, I think it's a little too little too late for them
Yeah,
to start that kind of stuff.
and they don't have uh the real estate for that. Like
Yeah,
you're talking about being cramped. Like
yeah,
the one place, that mom and pop place that I was talking about, in a strip, like it's in like a strip mall, but it's got a lot of you know a lot of table space there. It's not in the best part of town, so that they could afford it, but it's there. It's near my kid's pediatrician, so every now and then we'll stop by. But um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know really how they're gonna turn it around. Like we'll see if new hardware sales this year can help, and it's just a matter of a weird doldrum years in terms of games. But they did announce that they're like revamped their power up rewards or something. So I guess if you pay for it now, you get like a $5 voucher that you can use per month. Like every month, you get $5 to use on anything you want in the store. But I got to think the fine print in that is you have to use it within that month, and they don't like carry over. I wonder how that would work. Because if you're paying $20, but they're giving you like $60 worth of in-store credit, I don't understand how that helps them.
yeah.
But I guess if you get your $20, that you spend more when you're there.
I guess that's true.
Maybe that's the thing. I'm no businessman, obviously. I'm just a working man.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I went into a GameStop actually not too long ago, like within a few months. I can't remember what I was looking for. I don't remember right now, but I was kind of looking at their game section and looking at I was looking at their Switch, like the used game or game section, and I was just like, man, some of these games, it's like really, You want how much for these? And they're like, how old? It's like, man, come on, guys. But I don't know. You know, that's always a big sticking point, obviously, the trade-ins and all that. But I'm pretty sure. Well, I'm pretty sure, like you said, they'll probably get a good boost in the arm once the new hardware comes out. But then after that, it's kind of back to business as usual. You'll probably see that decline again within the next year or two, I would assume. But
Yeah. And the thing is though, like whenever I go in, I'm never the only one in there. Um,
mhm.
I don't feel like they're ghost towns. I just um, I wonder if it's 27.5 maybe is just was 2018 an especially good year. I know there was a lot of Switch sales, um, but
Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll see what happens.
I I still think they're swimming against the current. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't see them, especially with the way things are going to now that we're getting the streaming stuff, and obviously we already have the digital game downloads and stuff like that. So, and just like you, I pretty much buy everything digitally now. Um, I just recently bought shoot, what is it? Wolfenstein Youngblood. That was actually I did buy physical just because I saw it on a good sale online. But that's like the first game I've bought physically in a long time for the Switch. Probably since like that first release window there, the first few months that I bought a couple. I just bought a couple just because I wanted to have something to play right away. I didn't have to wait to
we
download it.
we have one game physical, which at that mom and pop shop I bought Breath of the Wild, which was $10 cheaper a couple of months after launch. I bought that before I got the Switch actually,
Mm.
just because it was there and it was like whatever I can get it $10 off. So that just stays in the Switch like 100% of the time. Everything else is digital.
Yeah, I think that first day I bought Breath of the Wild and I bought Splatoon 2. I think Breath of the Wild I bought that one actually physical too, just because once again I wanted something that I knew I didn't wasn't gonna have to wait a while, especially at the time because my internet was a little slower at the time. So, but yeah, it's good times. Thank goodness for the pre-downloads nowadays. I don't have to wait that long. Of course, you usually get that big, ginormous day one patch sometimes too, but it's usually not that bad on the Switch. So
Yeah, I was gonna say Nintendo, like it's not horrible. I
no,
can like buy a game on my smartphone and when we're running errands, and then by the time I come home, it's ready to go.
yeah,
So
that's nice. And just
it's
obviously,
different on the PS4.
yeah. And it's not the
And
Switch too. Other game systems do that too, but that's nice.
it's bad on the PC. So what I do is I actually installed Steam on my work laptop, and I will download the game on my nice beefy work, massive internet pipe onto my laptop, which can't play anything because it's just a 8 gig RAM integrated graphics type thing.
Yeah.
But I'll bring my laptop home and then I can sneakernet the files to my to my gaming PC and really reduce the time. But you gotta adapt when you have crappy internet like I do.
Yeah, I know you're still waiting on that bigger.
Yeah, I'm still sucking through a DSL straw right now.
That's all right. We've all been there at some point. So hopefully one day you'll get that fiber going.
They told me at the end of the month when I complained last week, but that's what they said like a year ago.
Oh, it's coming.
Yeah.
All right. We've almost just about hit the hour, so I think we will wrap it up there. Unless there's anything else you wanted to mention real quick.
No, I'm trying to remember what stories I pitched since it's kind of turned into a free for all for stories.
Yeah. Whatever you want. Yeah, and the order kind of got messed up because of when I was trying to copy and paste everything, mixing everything around.
No, I think we hit it. The last one I wanted to talk about was Horizon Zero Dawn, and and we already slipped that in. So
All right. Cool. Yeah, and I didn't really see. I mean, there's a bunch of Switch stuff. We had the big Pokemon Direct a couple weeks ago, a week and a half ago or so, where we got the DLC drops, or they're gonna drop. They basically there's a Game Pass now for that, for a couple of DLC drops. One next, no June, and then one in the fall. I don't think they said exactly when in the fall, but so that just got me wondering because usually they have like a full on game, and I would have figured they would have had like the next Let's Go series or type of game, but I don't know if they'll have like a whole other game since that one's dropping in the fall. I don't know. That's kind of weird. And they didn't talk too much about it, but supposedly they're fairly large areas that they're on for this DLC drops. So I guess we'll have to see. Um, and then there's also shoot, I forgot the other game that they announced during that direct. I'll have to check it out.
Trying to find the article that you were referencing.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up now. I didn't pull it up before. So the two DLCs are Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra. Those are the two drops. And then the other one, if I can find it real quick here, it doesn't say in this article. There is another game that's actually coming out within a few months. I think maybe next. Oh, here it is.
This is
Pokemon
the Mystery Dungeon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think those are back from the DS, I believe. I think. I don't think it was the 3DS. I think it might have been just the DS.
I'm not as in touch with Pokemon like history as you are, UNDB.
Well, yeah, I think him a little bit more than me.
I don't even know what Mystery Dungeon was.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So that should be cool. And then I think they had there was a demo for that Mystery Dungeon that came out that same day that they announced it. So, and then also there's in the current Sword and Shield, you can go to a certain section to try to catch a Pokemon that will be in. I think it's the first of the DLCs. It's kind of like a little sample, and one of the characters from the DLC will be in there too. They can talk to for a little bit, so it's kind of cool. Other than that, I think that was all I had.
There's one more story that I remember that I thrown in there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Capcom Monster Hunter World Iceborne came onto Steam, and there's a glitch or something. And this is I got this story from Exclusively Games, but I think it's out there.
Yeah.
Several players taking to Steam and Reddit to inform others that for whatever reason, the latest update is deleting their saves. Not just like the Iceborne save, but like Monster Hunter World saves. And so you turn it on and it checks your save file, and then there's an error. And when you try to like exit the error message, it like deletes and overwrites your save file. So, and it goes out to the cloud too. Yes. And I just thought that's something that you don't want to happen. And where's your testing?
Also, in the article it says no root cause for the saves being deleted, so that's good. They have no idea, or at least at the time.
That's always what's the word? Comforting.
Yeah. So it's about a week ago. So hopefully by now they got something going.
They got it cleaned up. But for now I feel guilty because I thought it was kind of a humorous story, but I would not be laughing if it was me that it happened to. And I will say though, with Nintendo, we had our Switch kind of crapped out, and I sent it in to Nintendo, and I got one back, and it was a different serial number, so I had to re-download all my stuff, and on my cloud saves it was fine, except for Splatoon 2, which doesn't support cloud saves. So in a way, this kind of happened to us. I was not very far in Splatoon 2, but my wife was like a level 65 rank, like she's all the way up in like the A ranks on the ranked battles.
Oh, wow.
And she never like went back to the game. Like she tried, and she was just like, "Screw this. I don't want to. I'm not building the character up again."
She was defeated.
Yeah, it's just like I'm not gonna waste. It still frustrates her to this day. So, yeah, we have cloud saves, and you got to think. The other thing is, you and I, kind of in the technical field, we're the backups. Like, you think the cloud saves will have backups, so if somebody says, "Hey, my cloud save file got deleted, they can click a button and be like, okay, well, we have this feature, don't abuse it, but you're restored, right?
Yeah,
But anyway,
yeah. I mean, that's still a thing with Nintendo too. That even the current Pokemon game, I don't believe is there's cloud saves for that one. So it's like, come on,
Sword
guys.
and Shield,
Yeah,
really?
yeah. I don't get it.
Like,
I know Let's Go 2 was the same way for Eevee and Pikachu, and I don't understand why you can't do that. I don't. I just don't get it. And it's not just the Pokemon ones. There's other games too. I can't remember offhand right now. I think Fortnite, but that's
oh,
excuse me.
you're right. No
That's
cloud save.
yeah. The Epic Games pretty much
Yeah, I
takes
think
care of
that's got
that.
to be a little bit of different.
Yeah, but
Yeah, why would they do it? They say it. They said it in Splatoon 2 was for like competitive reasons. Like they didn't want people, but it's like every other system and game service, like they handle it.
yeah,
It's just
it's like all games, not just like certain ones. It's like come on.
yeah.
But that's Nintendo. It's Nintendo. And it's a first party game too. You'd figure they'd have that. So it's like, come on, guys. Um, but yeah, they
I,
still
s-
have.
I still rather have Nintendo be idiosyncratic and different because I think it on the whole it pays off with quality content.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
then but
For
then
the
they just
for
do
the
like
games at
some
least.
face they do some face palm stuff too.
Yeah, no. There's some quirkiness. That's all right. That's Nintendo though. We love
They're my eccentric, relative.
them. Your centrist uncle.
Yeah.
All right. I think that is it. Unless you have anything else.
No, this has been a lot longer of a show than I anticipated when we when we had our first set of agenda.
I was looking
But that's
through.
because we didn't stick to the agenda.
Yeah, it's true. I took us off the rails. That's all right. I'm the host. I could do that. Like I said, some potential game announcements for the Switch were Metro One and Redo, I believe. I think those are rumors, and then also shoot, what was the other one that they were rumoring? Oh, all the Bioshocks were going to come to Switch supposedly. I think that was like some Italian site or something that leaked that. One, two, and Infinite.
Did
Which
you ever play any of those?
I
I've
played.
never played them.
I played the first one. Actually have it on the 360, and I played through maybe like a third of it or so, and I liked it. I enjoyed what it was, but I was just as usual. I had too much to do and just didn't get back to it. And actually, I had bought it like a couple years, 2 3 years after it had come out. So I think it was just like a sale or something that I bought it on. And then Infinite, I did the demo when it came out, and that was pretty fun too. That was pretty cool. So uh, I don't know if I think they mentioned that it was probably you can buy them individually, or there's like a pack that was going to come out, a 3 pack. Um, I don't know. I don't know if I'd even buy any of them just because there's so much going on right now. And I don't. In the article, I didn't mention if they were like just like yeah, here we kind of prettied it up a little, and here here it is, or if it was like a remaster. It's probably just like a pretty up thing, and then releasing it. So, but it's kind of cool that they're bringing those games out. So, I think that's pretty much it. I think we hit pretty much all the major ones. Um, we got to DB's. I tried to have ours first because I know DB wasn't going to be here, but we talked about DB's GameStop one, so I think we got it. We got everybody's in there, and more, and then some.
Yep.
Um, so that'll be it for episode number 126 for tonight. Once again, we're recording a little bit later in the week, but hopefully next week we will be back on track. I believe we're shooting for Thursdays now, around the same time, 8:15, 8:30 ish, and we will hopefully have all of us on, and we can do our decade in review. We're not going to go through like every year and kind of say, hey, this is the best game or anything like that. We might do a little bit different and just kind of pick a few things each, and then as far as games and maybe like kind of like things that came out, like say like Game Pass and stuff like that obviously came out within the last decade, and that's kind of a big thing. So we'll break it down a little bit more than just decade by decade, or I mean year by year in that whole decade. So join us then, and please check us out on YouTube. Look for Enough to Keep Going or E2KG Network on there, and also on SoundCloud if you want just the audio version of us. If you want to just listen to us on the drive to work, or during the gym, which I like to do. I like to listen to podcasts then too. Uh, Swiss, any last words?
Nope. I'm kind of curious to hear like what what you guys view as kind of like some of the big developments of the last 10 years. So I'm looking forward to that. I kind of like I like the format DB pitched for it, so that should be fun.
Yeah, a little bit more kind of focused. So instead of kind of just going off, off the rails and stuff, which we'll probably do anyways, but it should be fun. And I started doing some of that research last week because I was like, oh man, I got to do this because I thought we were going to do this week. So at least I got part of it done.
Yeah,
Lot more.
I got two of my like three big things from the decade
I was
decided upon.
just
But
looking at the games. I was like, oh man, it's gonna be it's gonna be hard
right,
just to pick three. I think
we're looking at both news stories and games. So
yeah, I think it was three games and maybe two like news stories or so, or like big
something like that.
developments. Yeah, or something
Yeah,
like that. So we'll see. We'll see how it breaks out.
and then we have to pick our favorite game of the decade.
Yeah, that might not be too hard. I would think. For me, it's
For
probably
you,
yeah. For me, it's probably gonna be something more recent within the last few years. Um, just because the older stuff is just like, eh. So I don't know. We'll see. So really, I mean, because when did the one in the PS4 come out? 2015?
uh,
Or was it earlier than that?
I want to say it was earlier than that. I think
13.
we're a good 7 years on
Yeah.
this cycle, seven. But for me, it was difficult to narrow it down to one game. Um, but the next GX show that we do, the pick. This is kind of a preview of that one. The picks plays. We went ahead and went back to play a game from like 2010
Oh yeah.
ish,
Yeah.
and just playing through those. It's like wow, you know, games have evolved quite a bit since then. So yes, I can understand your sentiments about it's probably going to be a more recent game. The game I have tentatively selected is also more recent.
Yeah. Yeah. Better part of the decade is the the current generation of games. So
Yeah.
we'll see though. I still have to look through a little bit more the first part of the decade. So all right, for Swiss Guard, I am Osiris Prime. Thanks for watching and listening to us, and we will see you next time.